I'm fighting a dragon. Leave me alone.
Pretty much. All right, we're live.
That's a great way to start the episode.
Yes, being fought by dragon. Yeah.
I mean, do you not fight dragons on a regular basis when you're not on the podcast?
Yeah, I do actually. Then the voices in my head, I get into a fight with them too. So.
Indeed.
You're gonna have to ignore this. My hand has been itching like crazy for like the last week, so I'm gonna be doing this a lot. You just have to ignore it.
It happens.
I haven't lost my mind. Okay, so today we've got Goatman's Bridge, Emily's Bridge, and whatever else I put up there.
Black Agnes.
Black Agnes, which you said is a statue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't we do one of yours, then we'll do mine, and we'll do another one of yours.
Okay.
Save your voice a little bit, so it's not all one go for you.
Right. All right. We'll start with Emily's Bridge. So Emily's Bridge is a covered bridge in Stowe, Vermont. For those of you who do not know, Vermont is very famous for their covered bridges. There's, I want to say, like 200 of them, at least, in Vermont. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head. I should. I grew up there, but whatever. But anyway, so in Stowe, Vermont, which is also the location of the Von Trapp Family Lodge Brewery and Inn, and a gorgeous town, there is a bridge called the Goldbrook Bridge. It was built in 1844. It was a part of the Covered Bridge Road. It's about 50 feet long. It's a single lane. Most covered bridges in Vermont are single lanes. Some of them are a little bit wider than a single lane, so that, if there's somebody walking by, you can still get a car through.
Just hit them.
Yeah, exactly. Or I guess at the time, probably a horse and buggy, but whatever.
More haunted bridges.
Yeah. Sometime in the mid-1800s, I've gotten conflicting years on this. Some said it was like 1855, and the range went up to like 1925 or something like that. So, there's a good 70 years of possible time frame here where this happened. But supposedly, this young woman by the name of Emily, shocker, was meant to meet her lover on this bridge. Her parents did not approve of their getting married, so they were supposed to meet on this bridge and, run off together and elope. Well, he never showed.
Of course.
Yeah, of course not. When he didn't show up, instead of going home and being heartbroken and whatnot, Emily decided to hang herself from the rafters of the bridge. Because reasons.
Why not?
Shortly thereafter, they started, people started noticing that when they went over the bridge, there would be long, inexplainable scratches on the side of it, on the side of their vehicle. Think kind of like the scenes from the X-Men movies where Wolverine, runs his claws through the car and it scratches up, similar to that. There'd be these long gashes in their vehicle that they just couldn't explain because they didn't hit the side of the bridge. They weren't there before that. They would just get to wherever they're going and be like, hey, where'd these scratches come from?
Ghost keyed my car.
Yeah, right. Damn ghost. But it wasn't just vehicles that were having issues. Pedestrians that are walking across the bridge, or even a couple of them were not even on the bridge, they were just a little bit closer to it. Howdy. They would get too close to the bridge, and all of a sudden they'd feel this red hot pain on their back. And when they'd have somebody look, or they'd find a mirror or whatever, they had scratches running up and down their back that they could not explain. They weren't sitting there running their back against, the bridge or whatever. So they would just get these random scratches on their backs. people were stating seeing a white figure of a woman, with long fingernails, which would explain the scratches. And they usually happen between midnight and 3 a.m. Clearly not all of them, because if it was only midnight to 3 a.m., I can't imagine there's that many people traveling through there at that time of night. But they there's actually speculation that Emily, this ghost, is actually more than one young woman, because for a while after this bridge was built, it was a very popular spot to meet up between young lovers, and there was reported to be more than one death there. This Emily is the only one that hung herself on this bridge, but there was, I found reports of 2 or 3 other ones, depending on where you're getting the information from, that threw themselves off the bridge. There was one young woman in the late 1990s. I think it was, if I remember correctly, 95 to 96. It was like, some reports said it was like December of 95. Some said it was early January of 96. So the exact date on when it happened is a little hard to find. But supposedly she was actually run over by her fiance. They had some kind of argument as they're getting to the bridge. They pulled over. She got out, started walking across the bridge, and he gunned it and ran her over and killed her. I don't know if that's accurate or not. As the 2 sites I found that do mention that story, neither of them gave names. So that could just be another like wild rumor. But yeah, so like I said, the bridge was originally called the Goldbrook Bridge, which every now and then you can still find, postcards and whatnot with that name on it, because that is the historical name of it. But even, to this day, if you go to a gift shop in Stowe, chances are you're going to find a postcard with a picture of this bridge, and it'll say Emily's Bridge. Right on the side of the bridge, there's actually a plaque that says Emily's Bridge and gives the story, kind of just a quick little synopsis of it, such as it is, that talks about what happened and some of the stuff that people see and are citing, and talks about the scratches and whatnot. I found a couple times where people talked about hearing a woman's voice singing while they're on the bridge, either walking or driving. I couldn't find anything that indicated why there would be singing per se. Nothing I could find said anything about Emily being a singer or anything like that, but that does give a little bit of credence to the other deaths that have happened on this bridge also possibly being haunted. So it's very possible that it's not actually a haunting by a single ghost, but more of a cursed location. That, it could be, for some reason, this one bridge in Stowe, Vermont is cursed, and anybody that dies there ends up haunting it. It's one of those things where it's tough to say without actually experiencing it yourself.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, there's been some people that just say, hey, I saw this woman in white with long fingernails. And somebody else describes, a woman that doesn't have long fingernails wearing, a different color dress. So is it that there's multiple ghosts? Are people just making crap up? Or is it, people, their perception, they see this thing, and then when they go to tell the story, the recollection is a little muddled because stress and people have faulty memories. But yeah, that is Emily's Bridge. It's not a whole long story. There's not really much to it, but it is supposedly one of the most haunted places in Vermont.
Now, is this her death? I can hear myself through your speakers.
Sorry, turn it down a little.
Is her death documented, or is this like a legend thing?
It is just a legend. Like, as far as I could tell, anyways. There was no last name even given for Emily. And like I said, some sites claim it was 1855. Some of them are claiming it's all the way up through 1925. So that's
a big time span.
Yeah. So I mean, it very well could just be, random crap happening that somebody's like, "Hey, I heard this one time that this girl hung herself there because her lover didn't meet her there, and now she's haunting it." So it very well could be neither of those things. It very well might not be a jilted lover at all. It might not be a cursed bridge. It could be something completely different, and nobody knows the story behind what happened.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, that's our first bridge for the episode.
It also makes you wonder if the power of suggestion has anything to do with what's going on. Like, they know the legend, so it's like when you walk by a house that everybody says is haunted. You walk by it, and you get that creepy feeling just because you've been told so many times it's haunted.
Right. It's very possible, too.
Like, there's a house here in the city that a guy died in a fire upstairs. So you go by the house, you just get this creepy feeling because you know the history behind it.
Right.
Okay, the Goatman's Bridge. What do you know about the Goatman's Bridge? Anything?
I don't. I've heard of it, but I don't actually know anything about it.
Unfortunately, it is a little racist, so buckle up. If anybody doesn't want to be triggered, now's the time to not listen, because, like I said, there is some racist background to this. This one, it's in Texas, of all places. Go figure, right? Imagine racism in the South. So this is the old historic Old Alton Bridge, which is it connects the towns of Denton and Copper Canyon. What's funny, though, is the town of Alton was actually dissolved before the bridge was even built.
Interesting.
And it still has the name of the old town. I don't know why. It was built in 1884. The town had already been dispersed by 1884. The King Iron Manufactured Bridge Company, which is a mouthful, is the one that built it. Its original purpose was to carry horses and automobiles across the river.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what automobiles in 1884 would have been there, but, whatever. Who might argue? Denton was formed in 1846, which was the first attempt to settle the area in that area in Texas. But they ended up with water shortages, oddly enough, near a river. And 2 years later, they had to move the town. They moved it to a ridge between Pecan Creek, whatever you want to say, and Hickory Creek, and they called it Alton. That one also had to be picked up and moved in 1850. They moved 5 miles away to what is now Corinth. So apparently, third time's a charm. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it really is. Third time's a charm for trying to settle this area. The Hickory Creek Baptist Church was organized in 1855. 1856, they had other buildings with a school, and of course, what would Western town be without the saloon? because there's nothing more important than your school and your saloon, right?
Of course.
You're going to educate people. You got to make sure that they can get drunk too, apparently. Then they decided that this was not going to be the county seat. The town stayed, but they decided it wasn't going to be the county seat. They moved the county seat to Denton instead. Their post office there closed in 1859. This is just a backstory of how insane this was and why it leads me to believe that what happened was part of a larger problem with the land and not just a haunting on its own. Like you said, a cursed location. Because everything goes to shit for these people. The Baptist church and the cemetery are all that remain of the old Alton village. 25 years later, they built a bridge and called it the Old Alton Bridge. I don't know why. Half a century later is when the title Goatman Bridge came about. There was an African-American man named Oscar Washburn who settled down in the area. And again, remember, this is the South, 1800s, early 1900s. What his job was, he was an extremely successful goat farmer. And of course, unfortunately for him, the Klan in the area was really active. Most of the community accepted him, Washburn and his family. They appreciated the work they were putting in. They were really, like I said, they were really successful. So obviously they were supported. But the Klan took exception to a free black man that was doing well for himself and his family. As of course they would, because they were doing so well that he actually put a sign up on the bridge that said "This way to the Goatman's," because that was the nickname he had earned himself, was the Goatman. That's, he was really well known in the area. That pissed off the Klan, of course. 1938, they went across the bridge, headlights off, kidnapped Washburn and his family. Took him from the family, and then they dragged him to the bridge. And here's where the legend starts, because obviously the South, when the Klan was involved in a lynching, there was only just so much investigation going on because a lot of politicians were involved with the Klan. So the facts are a little obscured after what happened. It's known he was taken from his house and his family. What happened after that is up for speculation. So the legend says they put a noose over his head and threw him over the side of the bridge. All because he was successful. When they, of course, celebrated, we got him. They went to look to be sure he was dead, and his body was gone. Like, the rope was there, but there was absolutely no sign of him or his body. They went home, or they went to his house, and slaughtered the rest of the family. As for him, he was never seen again. He was never heard from again. So it's kind of like, did he vanish, or did he just fall through the noose and end up in the river? Who knows? It's one of those ghosty type things. But there's another story that predates the building of the bridge. It was a cowboys that lynched a goat herder called Jack Kendall. This apparently happened near the bridge, where the bridge was going to be in the future. The legend is that Kendall's body was reanimated through voodoo, that it ripped the head off a nearby goat and replaced his head with that of the goats. And apparently the cowboys all saw this happening. Why you would stick around as a body reanimates and then rips the head off a goat and replaces its own. But again, that
maybe it's like one of those car crashes where it's so horrific you just can't look away.
Yeah. Again, I'm not saying it happened. I'm just relating the legend. Do I believe it? It sounds a little far-fetched, but hey, what do I know? Okay, so nobody's really sure if it's Washburn or Kendall haunting the bridge, but a lot of weird stuff happens around Alton Bridge. People say if you cross the bridge without your headlights, the Goatman will meet you on the other side of the bridge.
Interesting.
There are reports of abandoned cars with the owners and anybody that was in it just vanished. There's reports of the vehicles just breaking down on the bridge, or doors locking or unlocking on their own, like repeatedly, as people cross the bridge. Which, I mean, if that's happening, why even go across the bridge? Some people have heard of hoofbeats as, they're goofing off around the bridge. I'm just going to say goofing off because let's face it, if you're around the bridge, you're just trying to stir something up. There's another tale where a guy said he was it's a man who waits on the far side of the bridge with a goat's head under each arm. So, seeing somebody standing there with a goat head under each arm would be kind of scary.
A little bit.
There's also, and here's where a lot of people think the name came from is, remember I told you about the guy replacing his head with a goat's head? There is reports of a half-man, half-goat figure, similar to like a satyr.
Interesting.
Which, it's sort of the after-death transformation, of when maybe this guy vanished and this is what he turned into, or maybe it's the other guy who replaced his head. So it's kind of nobody knows for sure which one it is, if it's either of them, if people are just, again, it's the power of suggestion. But yeah, the whole area it's definitely not a place I'd want to visit because there's just been so much crap that's happened around there.
All
right. They've also seen ghostly figures. They've seen strange lights in the woods. People have been grabbed. They've been touched. They've had rocks thrown at them. And of course, because of all this, the history of it, and all the tales of the haunting, and it's a lot of paranormal investigation goes on there. There are reports of satanic cults performing rituals under the bridge, which doesn't surprise me because if you've got a haunted location like that with a lot of tragedy around it, for whatever reason, that seems to attract the people that, want to do the darker shit. So some people wonder if that didn't open something up and invite, a problem to the bridge when nothing happened at all. So that is the Goatman's Bridge in Texas.
So you said the bridge led to his farm. Is there anything on there now?
Nothing that I saw indicated anything about the farm, where it was for sure, if it's still there or not. It's just that there apparently was a guy named, whatever it was, I can't remember off the top of my head now. I closed my notes, but that he was popular and people did like him in the community, and that he was doing really well for himself, and that he did have this sign because, people knew him as the Goatman. Why, after that, they know that something happened that night, but like I said, because so many powerful people and politicians were involved with the Klan at the time. There are no real records of what happened that night other than something happened.
Right. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I don't. If I saw a dead body start reanimating and ripping ripping a goat's head off a body,
Yeah,
I don't know why. I don't think I would just stand there. Like, I mean, I guess you could be paralyzed by the fear and all, but like,
yeah. That's the part that it replaced its head with a goat's head. So that leads me to believe that the head came off. If
right,
I saw a decapitated body rise up, I wouldn't stick around to see what it was going to do next.
right,
Even, okay, granted, it was a bunch of cowboys and there was no TV and horror movies like we know them. Still, I mean, common sense says you don't stick around.
right. And where did the goat come from? Why was there just a random goat?
He was also a goat farmer.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, there apparently it's one of two goat farmers, or maybe both, but that's the legend. That was before the bridge was built. He was a goat farmer. There's a goat farmer after the bridge was built. But in both cases, it was the goat farmer was a person of color, was doing really well in a time when that was not acceptable in the South. And, the people, the white guys in power decided to do something about it.
It's unfortunate that that kind of stuff happened, and I imagine it probably still does in some places. We just don't hear about it, unfortunately, because they're more sneaky about it nowadays. Because it's not as social. It's not socially acceptable anymore.
And one thing I did notice, looking through all this, is that at no time did any member of the lynching party ever get named. So if it did happen, they got away with murder, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Several murders, because the family was apparently murdered too.
Right. Well, I mean, unfortunately, that in that time period, that happened often.
Yeah.
I would like to point out that once again, unplanned, both our things happened in the same year.
Yeah.
1944.
Well, yours was in a 75.
Fair enough.
Mine was before that and up to after the bridge. So
yeah,
the 30s or 1840. So again, it's still a really large range of time where things can happen. What seems to happen a lot with hauntings that aren't more modern. It's always very well. It could have happened between here, or it could be this person, or maybe another decade later, it could be this person. So.
Which, I mean, makes sense to an extent because they didn't have as great of ways to, document stuff and store that documentation.
Yeah.
So, but I would love to find something about a haunting that, like, started in 2000 or after. I'm sure there's got to be something.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure, like, I'm sure there are places where murders have happened that are more recent that,
Right.
Or unexpected deaths of some sort.
Right. Well, moving on from bridges to a statue. So Black Agnes.
I know nothing about this one, so
I didn't either until I happened to stumble across it. I was just looking at since I knew that Emily's Bridge wasn't going to take up a whole lot of time. I was like, well, what other haunted places are there in Vermont? And I found, a whole list of them.
Oh, so this is like a full-on giant monument statue and not like a statue?
Yeah. This is at a graveyard.
Oh, even better.
So the statue sits on top of the grave of John Hubbard in Montpelier, Vermont. John Hubbard was a very wealthy businessman in Rutland County. He died in 1899. This statue that's on top of his grave is a statue of. There is some debate on what the statue actually depicts.
What?
It is a human figure sitting on a bench, leaning back slightly, very clearly a look of distress or agony. What is my camera doing? Stop.
I don't know. It's been doing that. It's a little weird.
So where the debate comes is it is hard to tell if this statue depicts a. Stop doing that.
He doesn't want his story told.
Apparently. There's debate whether it depicts a man or a woman. Because there's no, like in a lot of statues, if it's a female, there's a very prominent, obvious bust. If it's a male, halftime, they're naked and you can see their genitalia.
Yeah.
No such luck with this one. I even looked at the picture, and if I didn't know it was for sure a man.
Have you got a picture that you could send through the Discord? I can put this up.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me pull that back up real quick.
Because it's on his grave. You would think it would be obvious what it would be.
See, you would think that. Helps if I spell it correctly.
And you would think it would be like a statue of him.
You would
or
think
in
so.
Cases, like a statue of like an angel or something obvious.
Right. Yeah. No. Looking at this statue, it is not.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I will share this. That is.
So like, there's no prominent bust. There's no genitalia at all. But the facial structure looks rather feminine in nature.
Yeah.
But the body suggests male. So I think that's where a lot of the argument comes from, or the debate comes from, as to what it actually depicts. But
that's wild.
Yeah. So this statue, some people believe it to be a depiction of the Virgin Mary. Whereas there's others who believe it's actually supposed to be a depiction of death itself. Like a Grim Reaper death. There's no historical record as to who commissioned the statue, what it's supposed to depict, nothing like that. It's just there. Obviously somebody built it.
It's creepy anyway.
Yeah. But the story goes that if you sit on the lap of Black Agnes, then you are cursed with bad luck.
Do you know where the name came from for the statue?
No. And that's another thing. Nobody knows where this name came from. Because, like I said, the guy that's buried there is John Hubbard. So where'd they even come from? It comes with Black Agnes.
And why would you want to sit on the lap?
It's a statue with a lap, and it looks
creepy as fuck. But
well, I mean, why do people drive over the Goatman's bridge?
I mean, if you got to get to the other side, that makes sense. But
right. But yeah. So this statue, if you sit on its lap, you get cursed with bad luck. That's where a lot of the Virgin Mary thing comes from, I believe, is because the facial features do look feminine, and that would be a sign of being disrespectful to the Virgin Mary. The only one that should be on the Virgin Mary's lap is baby Jesus. But that doesn't explain the look of pain on its face, because it very clearly looks distraught or in pain or some kind of agony.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you sit on its lap, supposedly within 7 days, you'll have bad luck. There is a lot of different stories that I was finding of people, just getting into accidents after sitting on this thing's lap. Just plain old bad luck of, they started losing money left and right. They got a divorce. There was even one unexplained death that has been attributed to this thing. Excuse me. Oh man. It's very it's just weird, because the amount of here we go. Hold on. I just found something. So there is speculation that the statue is of Thanatos, who is the personification of death in Greek mythology. And it was created by famed sculptor Carl Biter. But yeah, I have no idea where they came up with Black Agnes, because either it's the Virgin Mary or it's Thanatos. Neither of those are Agnes. And it's very clearly not black. It's very clearly green. Though, I mean, depending on what it's made out of, it may have been a blackish color when it was originally built, and then just, turned green over time, as some metals are prone to do.
That's nuts. Why would you have a statue of death on your... The whole thing doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I got no idea. Yeah, it's weird. And there is on either side of the tomb, let me see if I can find. There's two stanzas from a poem that was actually entitled Thanatopsis. So two stanzas are: "Thou go not like the quarry slave at night, scourged to his dungeon, but sustained and soothed by an unflattering trust. Approach thy grave, like one who wraps the drapery of his couch about him and lies down to pleasant dreams."
That just makes it creepier.
Yeah. And basically from the brief looking I was able to get into Thanatopsis, which is a mouthful. It was written by William Cullen Bryant, and the basis of the poem is that when you die, you should have nothing that you're ashamed of in your life. Don't be ashamed of anything you did, anyone you have in your life, anything like that.
So in other words, this guy was a cruel bastard and had no regrets about it.
Ooh, we just lost you, buddy. You
Is that
froze
the
and got
takeaway?
all glitchy. You're fuzzy, but yes.
Back. So the takeaway right now is this guy was less than pleasant to the people around him and had absolutely no regrets about the way he treated people.
I mean, that's what I get out of that. Yeah, and it's
well, I mean, if that's the way he looked at things, like, hey, I hurt some people, but whatever, I died happy. I died not with no regrets. If that is a statue of the Greek idea of death, then yeah, that makes sense. Why not have an evil ass statue over your tombstone?
Oh, okay, here we go. This this may be a little bit of why he in particular used that poem and saying he's not ashamed of it. The monument was created for John Aristus Hubbard, who was born in 1847, died in 1899. Well, I wasn't that old. He was a prominent businessman and citizen in Montpelier. When his well-to-do aunt passed away in 1890, she left the bulk of her fortune to the city of Montpelier. John contested the will and won the fortune, which he added to his own sizable holdings. It caused many in the city to see Hubbard as a bit of a scoundrel who cheated the city out of the bequest, which some estimated the fortune at $300,000.
Well, back
which
then,
was a lot back
yeah.
then. Which was a king's ransom in the 19th century. Hubbard's reputation was nearly instantly tainted, but when he died less than 10 years later, he left the bulk of his fortune to the city, some believe to polish his tarnished legacy.
That's insane.
So very well could be that, by using that poem, he's trying to say, hey, I didn't do anything wrong by taking the money that my aunt had left the city. But either way, it's creepy and weird.
Yeah, that statue is nothing I would want over my own grave.
No. Definitely not.
And that what's funny is the amount of money that had to have been spent on that.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't find anything that says what it's made out of, but I'm assuming
it looks like copper.
Yeah, I'm assuming copper just by the oxidation. But I was not able to find anything that confirmed that. Oh, apparently this is a knockoff of the sculpture that Augustus St. Gaudens created for the Adams Monument in the Rock Creek Cemetery at Washington, D.C. Jack.
Jesus Christ. A list of not so wonderful circumstances, a certain death within 7 days, and a range of just plain bad luck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll pass on that.
Yeah, I'm good. I don't need a picture of me sitting in this thing's lap that badly. Thank you. I'll Photoshop it in if I have to.
Just weird stuff. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at this statue.
Yeah, the statue is freaking creepy as hell.
Yeah, apparently if you sit on it, you have a chance of dying within 7 days or like real bad luck. Like horrible luck.
It's interesting looking at this thing too, because the way the oxidation is, it makes it almost look like there's tears running down the side.
Yeah, I noticed that. Or like blood coming down the face from the nose. It's really messed up.
Yeah. Either way, it's creepy.
Yeah. It's not a place I would go visit. I would go visit Goatman's Bridge before I would go anywhere near that statue.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's Black Agnes / Thanatos.
Yeah,
I'd still want to know how that happened.
I don't know. That's one. Even if there's no curse attached, it is really bizarre that would be the statue they would choose to have as a monument.
Yeah.
I mean, most people go with like depictions of themselves or, like angels, that, in a loving type pose, but this just looks weird.
Right? Like what possessed somebody to want that on top of their grave? I mean, unless because like I said, I mean, it's apparently.
That was Sam's cat, not mine.
Oh, that was my cat. But with it being a knockoff, I wonder if he wanted it purely because it looked like the one in DC. So he's like, "Oh, look at me! I'm important. I have enough money to get this thing that looks like the same one that's in DC."
That could be. I wonder, does one in DC have a curse with it?
That's a very good question. I don't know. And I don't remember what it was called because I closed the window already.
You know what? Let's see if I can find it. I'm curious now.
You know what they say? Curiosity killed the cat.
Oh, I'm not a cat, so I'm not worried about it.
I don't know. He might be. Maybe it's the zombie cat. You never know.
Let's see here. Wow, it would help if I could spell.
Generally speaking, that does help. Yes. Here we go. Oh.
Come on, man.
Let's see.
Statue of Grief. Well, that would make sense.
General Felix Angus.
It's supposed to depict grief, the original statue.
So is there another statue it's called Grief and looks similar to that?
It doesn't look anything like this one. Hang on. Yeah, exactly, Louis. It's very weird. Did I close that? I did not. Okay. Why is this not giving me? I will just do this. Window.
There we go. I got a picture.
Yeah, because it's not letting me. I'll just do this. Ooh, we're inside ourselves.
Creepy.
How's that?
Yeah, okay. There you go. Yeah,
this is the one it's based off of.
Yeah, which even that, like, that doesn't look like somebody in pain or agony.
Yeah, the face is completely different.
Yeah. It's completely covered. It's just sitting there calmly with, the one hand up. Whereas the one in Vermont very clearly is like, ah.
This actually looks more at peace than the other one.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
This doesn't look like grief at all to me.
And it doesn't appear to have blood running down its face.
Yeah, exactly. It's very weird. Let's see if there's any curse associated with it. No.
Yeah, not that I'm seeing. But apparently that one did inspire a prominent copy, the Black Aggie.
Yeah.
Which was sold to General Felix Agnes for his gravesite. So what's that one look like? All right, that one looks more like the original. So the one in Vermont looks nothing like either of the other two.
Really?
That supposedly Hmm.
Weird. Okay, Black Aggie, you said, is the one, right?
Yeah.
Now, see, the one I'm seeing looks nothing like that one. It looks like the original, the one I
Yeah.
just showed you.
Yep. Yeah. So that both the ones that it's supposedly based off of don't look anything like it.
That is so weird. I don't understand where this one came from. I will actually, if I can bring, yeah, there we go. I'll share this too. Share screen. So here's what I'm seeing. This is the Black Aggie. This is the copy, which looks a lot like the original.
Yeah.
The Black Agnes looks nothing like the other ones. It's like they took some inspiration from the lap area, but the rest of it, you know.
Yeah. It's a figure with a hood type thing on, and it's got a
There's a
lap.
close up of the face right there.
Yeah. That looks completely at peace, just kind of
Yeah.
resting. You know.
Yeah, Black Agnes is just freaking. It doesn't make. Oops. Let me try that again.
It's all right. When I was trying to look it up, I typed in Black Angus.
I mean, look at that face. That looks nothing.
No, that looks absolutely terrifying.
I don't under. That is so weird.
Yeah. Which kind of makes me want to believe that it's actually cursed, like, because nobody knows why it's called what it's called. It looks nothing like what it's supposedly, named after. And people apparently die after sitting on it.
See, here's the two of them side by side.
Right. There's compelling evidence that this creepy statue of Black Agnes is cursed by the spirit of a teenage girl. What?
What? Yeah, now I gotta find. Cursed by a Civil War general and a woman who killed herself.
Interesting.
I will just leave this open. I'm sure you can read this. So.
Kind of.
Oh, she spent the night in the arms of the statue and was found dead the next day.
Okay. Interesting.
What the frick, dude? Oh, that's been removed from the public. I can't imagine why.
Right.
This says vandalism, but...
Vandalism.
Yeah.
More like, people are dying after sitting in this thing's lap. Contrary to rumor, the statue was originally placed over the grave of a Civil War veteran. What?
Yeah, this one said the wife committed suicide by drinking potassium during a bout of depression over her father's death. This is the Black Aggie statue.
Oh, okay.
So these statues, there's more than one with a curse on them.
Interesting.
This is the one that was removed. Wow.
Huh.
That's insane. It's caused miscarriages. Of course, sorority and the eyes glow red at night. Unauthorized replica, yeah, we knew that. Grass never grew around the grave.
Creepy. So I wonder if that's why Black Agnes is called that, is because there's supposedly
this other one, yeah.
The one Black Aggie as well. There's definitely blood in the right picture. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was for sure there's some blood in there.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I thought one was bad enough, but the fact that somebody actually committed suicide and then somebody was supposed to have died by sitting on the statue and staying there overnight.
Right. Yeah, that's sheesh. Mind me to sit on a statue.
Yeah. Grass wouldn't grow around the grave.
Black Agnes and the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. I'm gonna not trust statues anymore.
I don't think I've ever heard of a grave where grass hasn't grown.
I mean, there's been a couple throughout researching stuff that I found that are supposedly unhallowed ground. Where something very evil happened.
Bad time for the music box.
I found a couple things where like this grave, somebody, desecrated this grave in some way that turned it into unholy ground. And grass doesn't grow anymore. But yeah, I've never heard of it just being out of the blue.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. I think we spent more time on Black Agnes, which I thought was going to be like a little 5-minute blurb.
Yeah.
Than either of the other two this episode.
That's fine, though, because we ended up finding that there was another statue that we just thought was, a copy of the original. That actually was just as creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, the statue itself wasn't creepy, but the circumstances around the statue were creepy.
Yeah. I'm going to have to dig into that one a little more. See what I can find out about Black Aggie.
That's crazy.
Not too bad for a random off-the-cuff kind of just, oh, hey, this looks interesting. I'll throw this in there, too, since my segment's a little short today.
I could see wanting one that looked like the original Grief, because that was well done. But it was unauthorized, which makes me wonder if that wasn't kind of what started the whole, like, I don't want to say curse, but that's kind of what it seems like.
Yeah.
Like, this is my work. You didn't have my permission to use it. And then, the guy dies. It goes over his grave. She drinks potassium and kills herself. And it just snowballs.
Yeah. Definitely a lot to unpack in that one, I think. Yeah.
And then, of course, the copy of the copy, which looked nothing like it, really.
Yeah.
Maybe inspiration would be a better...
Yeah. Yeah, it was loosely inspired by it, I guess.
Very loosely. That third one was so weird. It's just like, you don't know if it's man or woman or what it's supposed to be depicting as far as an emotion goes. It's definitely not grief.
No.
And it definitely doesn't look at peace by any means. It looks like it's suffering.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And that is totally at odds with the inscription around it, saying, I have no regrets.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. All three of them today were kind of interesting in their own right.
Emily's Bridge, though, there are so many tales from like the 1800s, people going off to sea or war and not coming back, saying they would, and then the person waiting for them ends up killing themselves, or waiting until their dying day for them to return, even though that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So that one I could believe. Goatman's Bridge, something definitely happened to the family. Whether or not the rest of it, the haunting is real. I mean, I saw the Ghost Adventures episode where they investigated. Take what you will from a Ghost Adventures episode. I know they've got a reputation for being a bit over the top. So,
right. But at the same time, like the things that they investigate, the stories are out there before they look into them. So
yeah, it's definitely not a bridge I would cross alone at night.
Mm-mm. Especially without your headlights on. What?
Right. Oh, I wouldn't. I forget being. I wouldn't cross it on foot alone at night.
No.
Especially if there are actual legitimate cases of cars being found with nobody around.
Right.
Absolutely not. I like I said, I've said it before. I don't necessarily believe or disbelieve this stuff, but you aren't going to catch me taking the risk.
Right. Makes sense.
Healthy respect for the things I don't understand.
That's what it's all about. And that's one of the main things we're trying to teach on this show.
Yeah. So what are we doing next week? I know we don't have topics picked yet, but like a category. This time was haunted locations.
Yeah, last time we did objects, so conspiracy theory time again.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. Last time we did conspiracy theories, we did the radio station out of Russia and the sphere, right?
Yep. Okay. The sphere that was found down in Florida.
Yep.
The Betz sphere.
And then the buzzer. Yep. Russian radio station. Nobody could explain. A lot of explanations for it, but none of them make sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's our show for this week. It was good to be back after 3 weeks.
Yeah. And apologies to our viewers for that. Life caught up with us a little bit.
Hopefully we're back again next week with some conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
The government will be tuning in, I'm sure.
Aren't they always?
Of course. All right. Have a good one.
You do.